From Copa Airways, Pedro Helbron. We have from TAP Air Portugal, Luis Rodriguez, and of course Theo Panagiotulias, the CEO of Star Alliance. So I'd like to start with Pedro. There's a lot of focus in the airline industry about the growth in Asia over the last years, or the maturity of the North American market. Here we are in Rio, and what I'm most curious about is what are we underestimating about Latin America and the Latin American market from your perspective?
Okay, so good afternoon to everyone. Thanks for coming. I'll say a few things. One, that if we look at Boeing's projections, and I would guess Airbus is the same, Latin America is one of the regions in the world that's supposed to grow the fastest in the next 20 years. And I think there are a number of reasons for that sometimes are overlooked. Number one is that air transportation is essential in Latin America. The distances are very long. The roads are not great. There are no other modes of transportation. So it's essential, and it's the only way we can connect the countries of Latin America. And then combine that with the fact that the middle class continues to grow. And the trips per capita in Latin America are much lower than in developed nations. So as the middle class grows, that percentage improves, and aviation is the mode of transportation. There are no alternatives. Like in Europe you have roads and trains, in the US you have roads. In Latin America, either you fly or you stay home. But especially the economy is improving and the middle class growing is fueling the growth of aviation.
And that's had obviously some success for Copa Airways.
Yeah, no doubt. We were actually the first ones to create an intra-Latin America hub, which is now an intra-America hub. And to this day, still the largest intra-America hub in Latin America. And we connect a number of cities that otherwise would not be connected to the rest of the region. Unique cities, that even cities that I would bet most people in this room have no idea where they are, in which country they are.
You are probably right. We're with journalists after all.
Unless there's a conflict there, then you'll know.
Luis, so Brazil, let's talk a little bit about Brazil. It's seen often as a destination market. Nice beaches, Rio, there's industry, etc. But it may very well be more than that, certainly for TAP Air Portugal. Is Brazil something more? Is it a strategic market? A bridge between Europe and North America and Latin America?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for the question. I think we wouldn't be here, or I wouldn't be here, Tom wouldn't be here if it was not for this particular market. I get often the question on why don't you fly to Asia? But what the hell am I going to do flying Asia? You just heard Pedro, and he's in the region. There's so much potential here. If I look at my 50 priority cities that I could fly next to, I think 49 of them are in Latin America or Brazil, to some extent. The intra South American flights are 10% of what they are in Europe. There's a huge potential to grow. There's million plus is poised to grow. And frankly, between us, as we look in the region, we don't see the risk of a war. But you put it all together.
Louder, please. Very hard to understand. Louder.
You put it all together, and Brazil, South America, is the way to go. And you know, there's this social attitude of enjoying life, which we need in Europe badly. So, and in America, by the way. So, connecting the world, and when we connect people to each other, it becomes easier for them to understand each other. I'm of the feeling that 95% of the world problems are communication problems. Unless people sit and talk to each other, that won't go away. So we want to make sure we connect the Brazilians and the South Americans to Europe and vice versa. Because apparently the geopolitical side of this whole thing, we have all to gain from closer relationship with each other. We hope, we wish Mercosur works effectively. We are in Europe eager for that to happen, for us to exchange flows of trade and people. So yeah, it's more than a destination. It's a whole new world that's opening up.
Is there more room for growth for TAP in the Brazilian market?
Absolutely, yes. We fly today to 15 different cities in Brazil, out of which 10 are exclusive to Europe that we fly to. And there are another 10 or 20 that we could fly to if we had the resources and the airport in Lisbon and Porto to fly to.
Theo, you're beside two airline CEOs for which Brazil is a large part of traffic, but in different ways and different scales. How does STAR balance the interests of airlines that are sometimes partners, sometimes competitors, and then in a world where there's increasing joint ventures?
I think what you'll find is, if you look at the premise of an alliance, where it all started from, it was about not one airline cannot serve every destination in the world, so you're bringing partners together to leverage each other's networks and be able to deliver, that more choices, more options to the traveling public. When you're referring to things like joint ventures and collaboration as such, these things coexist. They're very different concepts. From an alliance perspective, on top of providing that network, it's about integrating from a customer experience perspective and making it as seamless as possible. And so that's our core priority. When you look at the strategies and the opportunities that both Luis and Pedro talked about, these are commercial strategies for individual independent carriers. From our point of view, we want to be delivering value in ways that member carriers cannot otherwise do on their own. And so the key opportunity there is about making the customer experience as seamless as possible. So to the point about joint ventures versus alliances, joint ventures are very geographic specific. They're more on a bilateral basis, and these are normal commercial arrangements that various business will partner with. That can coexist very complementary as part of a broader alliance that is more focused on the customer experience.
I'll put a question to Luis and to Pedro next. We're here with global airline journalists, many of whom have deep knowledge and expertise of the space. But what is, as from your perspective as a CEO, what is the biggest misconception that the airline and aviation journalists have about the industry? Tough one, Luis, I know.
That's a tough one. I think it's the idea that the airline controls the flows and the ecosystem. In reality, it is an ecosystem with many, many different parts that we don't control. If you mess up with the coffee machine, or if the coffee machine in the aircraft gets broken, or nobody's fault, the flight may not happen, which is difficult to understand, but it is what it is. And we often talk to journalists, and we have the feeling that they think we like disruptions. Obviously we hate disruption, it's a pain, but we don't control it. There's not a limit to what we can do. And now with this whole environment that's going on, infrastructure, ATC, border control, the only positive thing out of it, as far as I'm concerned, is finally people start to understand, oh, it's not the airline fault. Thank God.
Pedro.
Okay, so that's like a slippery type of question in a room full of journalists.
That's the point.
That's the whole point. So I will say a few things. I will say what maybe they get wrong, which I don't think they get it wrong, but sometimes I think journalists need to know more about the realities of the industry and the airline. Like Katiuska from Panama, now she has become a super expert. So her reports are very, very accurate. So sometimes we're expected to be perfect and to have no issues and no trouble. Sometimes too much is demanded of us. But again, when the journalist knows the reality of the industry and the business, that's not an issue. But what they usually get wrong is that they think we can predict the future. And we're always asked about what's going to happen in the next quarter, or in the future, with oil and the like, and we have no idea.
Last question. We have a global panel. Pedro from Panama, Luis from Portugal, and Theo originally from Australia. Who's going to win the World Cup?
It's very easy.
That is.
Go ahead, Chris.
Portugal, obviously. Sorry.
For me, it's very easy. I cannot say who's going to win it, but I can give you 5 or 6 teams. So it's going to come from one of the 6 teams. I'm going to tell you. You can bank on this,
You
right?
gotta say Portugal.
And I'm going to say in any order. Spain, France, Portugal, Brazil, England, I'll say 7, Argentina and Panama. One of those 7 teams. It's going to come out of one of those 7 teams.
That's a great answer. Why don't we leave it at that? And we won't put Theo under this one. Luis, you have something to say?
No, just thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining the panel, gentlemen, and we'll see you next year in China, I'm sure. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.